What if I told you that the most expensive wine in human history was created in 60 seconds by someone who had never performed a miracle before? Today, we are breaking down the exact moment Jesus went from unknown guest to legend, and why this one miracle changed everything, But here's the twist that nobody talks about. This wasn't just about wine. This was about power, timing, and a mother who knew exactly how to activate her son's destiny. And by the end of this video, you'll understand the hidden strategy that can unlock breakthrough moments in your own life. But first, let me show you what really happened at this wedding. Picture this. You're at the most important social event of the year in a small town called Cana. Everyone who matters is there. The bride's family has spent months preparing. Their reputation is on the line. And then disaster strikes. They run out of wine. Not just any wine, the good wine in ancient culture. This isn't just embarrassing, it's social suicide. The family would be shamed for generations. The marriage could be called off, lives would be ruined. But sitting quietly in the corner is a 30-year-old carpenter who's about to do something that will be talked about for the next 2,000 years. And here's what most people miss: this miracle almost didn't happen. So here's the scene. Jewish weddings in ancient times weren't one-day events, they were week-long celebrations. We are talking about hundreds of guests, continuous feasting, and enough wine to float a boat. But there's a problem. Someone miscalculated. Maybe more people showed up than expected. Maybe the guests were drinking more than usual. Whatever happened, the wine master, the guy responsible for keeping everyone happy, realizes is facing a catastrophe. In Jewish culture, hospitality wasn't just important, it was sacred. Running out of wine at a wedding was like, imagine hosting the Super Bowl and running out of food during halftime. Your reputation would be destroyed forever. The bride's family is panicking. Servants are scrambling. Guests are starting to notice. And that's when Mary, the mother of Jesus, spots what's happening. Now here's where it gets interesting. Mary doesn't go to the wine master. She doesn't talk to the bride's family. She walks straight to her son, who, remember, has never performed a single miracle in his life, and says 5 words that change everything. They have no more wine. Let me pause right here because this moment is insane when you think about it. Mary is asking her son to do something he's never done before, in front of hundreds of people with absolutely no guarantee it will work. But here's what Mary knew that nobody else did. She had carried this child for 9 months after an angel told her he would be the Son of God. She had watched him grow up knowing he was different. She had waited 30 years for this moment. Jesus looks at his mother and says something that sounds almost harsh: "Woman, why do you involve me? My hour has not yet come." Most people read this and think Jesus is being disrespectful. But here's what's really happening. Jesus is saying, Mom, once I start doing miracles, there's no going back. This changes everything. Are you sure you want me to reveal who I am? Mary's response is legendary. She doesn't argue, she doesn't explain. She simply turns to the servants and says, "Do whatever he tells you." Think about that for a second. She's so confident in her son's power that she's willing to risk everything on a miracle that's never happened before. That's not just faith, that's radical faith. Now Jesus is committed. But here's where his genius shows up. He doesn't wave his hands dramatically. He doesn't shout prayers to heaven. He doesn't make a big show. Instead, he points to 6 massive stone water jars sitting nearby. These weren't little decorative pots, each one held 20 to 30 gallons of water. We are talking about 120 to 180 gallons total. That's enough water to fill up a hot tub. Jesus tells the servants, "Fill the jars with water." Imagine being those servants. You're in the middle of a wine crisis, and this carpenter is telling you to fill jars with water. You're probably thinking, this guy has lost his mind. But remember what Mary said, do whatever he tells you. So they fill every jar to the brim with plain, ordinary water. Then Jesus says something that still gives me chills. Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet. No prayer. No ceremony. No dramatic gestures. Just take it to the wine master. But here's the part that will blow your mind. Somewhere between the jar and the wine master's cup, the impossible happened, water became wine. Not just any wine, the best wine anyone had ever tasted. The wine master takes a sip and his eyes go wide. He calls the bridegroom over and says, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." Let me break down what just happened here. Jesus didn't just create wine, he created vintage wine. We are talking about wine that would normally take years to develop its flavor. Created instantly with perfect taste, perfect texture, perfect everything. But here's the genius of this miracle that most people miss. Jesus could have created wine in the original containers. He could have made it appear out of thin air instead. He used the existing water jars, the same jars used for ceremonial washing. Why? Because he was making a statement. The old religious system of cleaning and rituals was about to be transformed into something new and better. The water of religion was becoming the wine of relationship. The wine master has no idea what just happened. He thinks the bridegroom held back the good stuff. But the servants know, they saw the water go in and the wine come out. They just witnessed the impossible. But here's the most important part of the whole story. John 2 verse 11 says, "What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory. And his disciples believed in him." Think about that. These guys had been following Jesus for weeks, maybe months. They thought he was a great teacher, a wise rabbi, maybe even a prophet. But they had never seen him do anything supernatural. In one moment, everything changed. This wasn't just their teacher anymore. This was someone who could control the very fabric of reality. Someone who could speak to water and make it obey. The disciples' faith went from intellectual curiosity to unshakable conviction in 60 seconds. They realized they weren't just following a man, they were following the creator of the universe disguised as a carpenter. This is why John calls it the first sign. Not the first miracle, the first sign. A sign points to something bigger. This miracle was pointing to the fact that Jesus had power over all of creation. But here's what this story is really about, and why it matters for your life today. This miracle reveals 4 powerful principles that can transform how you handle impossible situations. Jesus said, "My hour has not yet come." But then he did the miracle anyway. Why? Because sometimes love overrides timing, sometimes serving others is more important than our personal schedule. How many times have you said it's not the right time when someone needed your help? Jesus shows us that breakthrough moments often come when we are willing to act before we feel ready. Jesus didn't create new containers. He used the water jars that were already there. He took something ordinary and made it extraordinary. You don't need perfect conditions to see a miracle. You don't need more resources, more time, or more talent. You need to use what's already in your hands and trust God to multiply it. The servants filled the jars with water even though it made no sense. They obeyed before they understood the plan, Most people wait until they understand the whole picture before they act. But breakthrough comes when you're willing to take the next step. Even when you can't see the final destination, the wine master said, "You have saved the best till now." That's not just about wine, that's about God's timing for your life. Whatever you're going through right now, whatever you're waiting for, whatever seems impossible, God specializes in saving the best for last. Your greatest breakthrough might be one act of obedience away. But here's the part that will change your perspective forever. This miracle wasn't random. It was strategic. Jesus chose to reveal his power in the context of celebration. community, and joy. Think about it. Jesus could have done his first miracle anywhere. He could have healed a sick person, raised someone from the dead, or fed thousands of hungry people. Instead, he chose to keep a party going. Why? Because he wanted to show that God isn't a cosmic killjoy. God doesn't just care about our serious problems, he cares about our joy, our celebrations, our human moments. This means God is present in your everyday moments, not just your crisis moments. He cares about your happiness, not just your holiness. He wants to be part of your celebrations, not just your struggles. And here's the pattern: Jesus always does more than we ask. Mary asked him to help with the wine problem. Jesus didn't just solve the problem. He created the best wine anyone had ever tasted. He doesn't just meet our needs, he exceeds our expectations. But there's an even deeper meaning here that most people miss. This miracle happened at a wedding, the ultimate symbol of covenant, commitment, and new beginnings. Jesus was making a statement about his relationship with humanity. Just like a bridegroom provides for his bride, Jesus was showing that he would provide for his people. Not just the necessities, but the abundant life. In the Old Testament, prophets often described God's relationship with his people as a marriage. Now Jesus is literally at a wedding, performing his first miracle. He's saying, I'm not just your teacher or your prophet. I'm your bridegroom. This changes everything about how you approach God. You're not just a servant trying to please a master. You're not just a student learning from a teacher. You're the bride that Jesus is committed to, provides for, and celebrates with. When you understand this, you stop operating from scarcity and start operating from abundance. You stop asking, will God provide? And start asking, how will God provide? You stop worrying about running out and start expecting God to save the best for last. So here's the formula for miracles that this story reveals. Step 1. Identify the need. Mary saw the problem before it became a crisis. She was paying attention to what was happening around her. Step 2. Approach the right person. She didn't go to the wine master or the bride's family. She went straight to the source of power. Step 3. Make the request. She didn't demand or manipulate. She simply stated the need: they have no more wine. Step 4. Trust the process even when Jesus seemed hesitant. She told the servants to do whatever he said. Step 5. Take action. The servants had to fill the jars and draw out the wine. The miracle required their participation. What's your no more wine situation? What seems impossible in your life right now? What would change if you applied this same formula to your circumstances? He had never done anything like this before. Miracle. But when love met need and faith met action, the impossible became inevitable. This one miracle set off a chain reaction that's still happening today. The disciples believed. Word spread throughout the region. People started following Jesus. The ministry that would change the world began with a wine shortage at a wedding. Your breakthrough moment might seem small and insignificant, but it could be the catalyst that changes everything. That job opportunity, that relationship, that creative idea, that moment of courage, it could be your water into wine moment. Jesus didn't just create enough wine to get by. He created an abundance, over 100 gallons of the finest wine anyone had ever tasted. When God moves in your life, He doesn't just meet your minimum needs, He provides more than you can imagine. And it all happened in the context of joy and celebration. Your breakthrough doesn't have to come through suffering. Sometimes God's best gifts come wrapped in laughter, surrounded by community and celebrated with the people you love. So here's my challenge for you. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to believe for your miracle. Stop thinking your situation is too small or too insignificant for God to care about. If Jesus cared enough about a wedding party to perform His first miracle, He cares about whatever you're facing right now. If He could turn water into wine in 60 seconds, He can transform your situation in ways you can't even imagine. Your water jars are sitting right in front of you. They might look ordinary, they might seem insufficient. But they are exactly what Jesus wants to use. Fill them with whatever you have: your faith, your obedience, your willingness to try and watch Him turn your water into wine. If this video gave you a new perspective on miracles, smash that subscribe button, because next week, we are breaking down the miracle that terrified the disciples more than any storm they'd ever faced. And trust me, what you're about to learn about Jesus walking on water will change how you see every impossible situation in your life. The water is in the jars. The miracle is in your hands. The best is yet to come. See you in the next one.